guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. You guys ready for this? I'm not even ready for this. But I've been dreaming about this for a while. Gentlemen, I give you the Tec CENTURION. Tec is very famous for making incredibly complex but incredibly well-engineered pieces of equipment. The Tec CENTURION, the reason it is so cool in my opinion is because it's got 3 500Zs in it. So I bought this thing with the expensive purpose of selling it to you all. I personally went out and I traveled and went to a little get together for guys over here in the Northwest Corner, radio guys. And I walked around that whole place and I kind of picked up everything that I thought would be of interest to you all. My little demographic of guys. And this was one of them. This is actually my last pick. I kind of walked by it a couple times because Tec, I see Tec and the numbers are so dramatically stupid. Even for this guy, when it was purchased in the 90s, they paid $3,500 for this thing, depending on when they bought it. And in today's market, that's $4,900 for this box for a pair of 3 500Zs. They claim that the max power out on this thing is 2,500, which translates to 3,000 in my mind with enough drive. I can see by looking down the inside of it, through all the insides, the innards through the fins, that we've got RF parts 3 500Zs in it, which doesn't matter. It's perfectly acceptable. They make good tubes. It just tells me this thing has been retubed, or maybe it came stock with them, because I'm sure in the 90s the iMac tubes are already starting to become more expensive. I mean, not the absurd $400 and some plus expensive that they are today per tube, by the way. The RF parts tubes are also not very cheap anymore. They are 200 and some after shipping. So I'm really excited about this amp. This is nice find. It come from a non-smoking estate sale, and you can tell because nothing is encrusted like on the band selector. I'll give you a little inference on the band selector here. The white inlaid pointer on the band selector is still pearl white. This amp has no scratches, no dents, no dings, and I did a quick search on YouTube. And this is the first one of these videos to be done, so there's no scratches, no dents, no dings. It does work in all modes and all bands, apparently. I have not run this thing yet. PTT Vox, QSK, standby operate, and then this is your on-off switches located on a small rocker on the bottom. Oh, it's pristine. So, this thing has a little hint of old person to it. All the way home I'm calling and telling all my friends, man, it smells like old person in here. I had this sitting right behind me on the ride home. So how do you work, little mister? You are a voltage doubler. Yes, you are. Yay. Which means this is pretty good for shipping. Oh, and it's reinforced. Oh yeah, you can smell it now. I love it. I love the smell of it. I love the smell. Well, it's minty. That is the best shorting bar system I have ever seen. It is literally a piece of triangle metal. So when the tin is down, the lid, it lifts this armature up out of the way, and when you take the lid off, it shorts it. Gravity. Huh, gravity driven. That's badass. Parasitics. Wow. Wow, this thing's in good shape. This is your bridge for your RF power. Let's go back around here to the front. If I understand how this works, you're going to have an RF power meter here. It says peak power, 100, 500, 1500, or 1000 and 1500. I just love how these knobs turn. They're like the front of a Kenwood or an ICOM or something. And they're gear reducted. Oh, this thing's pretty. I just might want to keep this one for myself. No, I'm not allowed to do that. The wife tells me I'm not allowed to do that anymore. She says, you have too many. You cannot do no more. This is silver plated. Sweet. Oh, so smooth. Okay. Well, let's come over here so I can change perspective here on this real quick. Let's take a look at our tubes. Oh, just very thin. Very old RF parts 3500Z. So what's the numbers on it? Yeah, made in 1995. See, it's stamped down here in the bottom of the tube. And the number is 12078. So let's see here. This one was made in 07. And the number on it is 05223. This tube here was made in 08, and the number is 12. They produced a lot of these. This is old. 1995. Wow. 2008. Look at the envelope difference. The top of the tubes. You see it? Is that an envelope difference or just the way they have the anode tit on there? No, it's on there flush. It's actually sitting up. What I'm talking about is this gap here at the top of the tube. Yep. Smells like my aunt and my uncle's house. Oh, I love it. I don't have to put any cleaner or anything on them. Just dusty. See how clear are these? Oh, pristine. Yay. Alright, well, that makes me super happy. Where's my anode cap screw? Here it is. So let's think. We're going to have rotation this way, so that means the airflow comes in this way. No, comes in this way. So we're exhausting out and up. That would explain why the paper's discolored on this one, and this one as well. It's on the back side. This was also purchased in 1995. Then tube number on it, 12062, and this one is 12073. So they're 11 tubes apart in production. Like I said, non-smoker home, just dust. All the aluminum is bright and clean on the inside, and the fins are all perfectly clean. That means it'll load everywhere. That's slick. I gotta take the camera off the tripod. What I was remarking about, what I think is so cool, is this selector right here. There's a dual set of contactors that are down in here. You got one here and one here. This is your band selector, and then this is actually your band indication selector. So as you're moving this through its band selection, so let's say 10, it's going to short the appropriate leads together, and then over here, this is your input network right here. So it's going to know what to pull up. That's freaking slick. Let's see, are there any capacitors down there that we can tinker around with or anything? Let's look up in here together. Nope. Nothing. So it's fixed. Which is a good current fuse. Wow, this thing's in good shape. Just dust. Transformer is pristine. Look at that. It's not even rusted. So they did the core on a preform, and then they epoxied, or not epoxied this. They lacquered it and vacuum packed it here. And then they put the core on. Why would I go and remove the bands? Do not remove the bands. Wow, this thing is nice. So I wonder if they give us access to the bottom of the tube sockets here. They do. Oh, look at them beautiful people. All right, let me crack that open. Look at that. Everything in here is pristine. And I love the fact that they've already grounded all the grids. Grounded. 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 Beautiful mini input coax. This is our filament choke. Yeah. Digging it. Okay, well, I'm gonna lay it down and blow it out. Give me just a minute. Damn yeah. You know, with having that 120 millimeter 110 volt fan in there, that will really allow that thing to run pretty quietly sitting on the bench. See, who makes that? Tube Axis fan, 120 volt. Sweet. Yep. My Uncle Bob was the coolest cat. He collected Hess toys, coins, stamps, and Rolex watches. And I was the only one that showed any interest in the watches, other than I'd just never seen a real Rolex. Well, one that I thought was a real Rolex anyhow. When he passed, my aunt, sweetest lady on earth, she made sure that those went on to me. This is interesting. Look at this. That's iron and metal dust from the magnet holder on the top of the drill. Interesting. She made sure those watches went on to me. The stamps went on to my father-in-law. So did the coins. And I ended up taking all the Hess toys. And I'm proud to say that we have not sold a single thing out of his collection. And the reason that he comes to mind is because they were the neatest and cleanest people that I've ever met. They literally were super organized, and their house was absolutely spotless. And this thing smells just like their house. That's the only reason that comes up. I still got all the watches, and I'll probably never sell them. I got the Pepsi Cola one, and I never wear them. I think the last time I wore any one of those watches is when I first met Prime. When he came over here and he wanted to go to breakfast, and I wore it to breakfast. Just because I thought it was neat. So I'm afraid to wear it because it's like I don't want to scratch it or damage it or hurt it or anything. The other ones, they just sit in the safe. I'm afraid to even look at them. But, wow, it smells just like their house. This thing is pristinely clean. Pristinely clean. Okay, I'm going to put the bottom of the tube socket back on, the cover on the bottom. I'm going to put the tubes back in it, and I don't see hardly anything wrong with it at all. See, these are going to be all of our adjustments. So see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, forward reflect. So you're going to have a forward power adjustment or reflected power adjustment. 2 for EP and 2 for the IG, I think. Adjustments on the front of this thing. This has got to go to the right home. This has got to go to the right home. Well, I know these old boxes, right? And what was in this thing for lamps was 14 volt, 4.3 watt incandescent bulbs, little push button bulbs. And they were here. So in my day, out running around with my beautiful, wonderful wife, it's spring break, you guys. And my wife and I took a day, and I took a day with her, and I just went and spent time with my wife. It was absolutely wonderful, I'm here to tell you. But in my day, I made sure to grab us new light bulbs. Brand new ones. That are the right wattage and the right voltage is. And normally I'd run this without the lid on, but there's this gravity activated interlock, which, boy, that's pretty hard to bypass, right? Just flip it over the other direction. It's neat. There's a glitch resistor right on the other side on this wall. I think this might actually be a full wave rectifier. The more I started looking at this and counting the strings, there's actually 4 strings of diodes that are in this thing, so it's probably a full wave. But it's currently wired 220. But over here in a corner, in this back corner over here, is a little safety interlock. Now, I think the screws have only been off this once. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this actually had RF parts tubes in it when it was manufactured. So I don't want to go and put a screwdriver to this thing. Like, I'm definitely not putting the old Ryobi to it. I don't want to take a chance on chipping up the heads of the screws. Because if you look really close, the heads of these screws are pristine. All of them. That's how immaculate the condition is of this box. Now, I've scoured the old inner boob, like top to bottom, bottom to top, and I've seen these listed on the ham forums, not in this good a condition, and not with a video certifying that they run, not with a company that's certifying that it actually is in full output or working condition, from anywhere from about $1,800 to $3,800. I'm not going to ask that much, though. We'll split it right down the middle. But man, this thing is pretty. The only thing I don't like about this amp, and I'll be totally honest with you guys, is this piece of coax right here. This is RG58 Belden, and it's got a nylon for dielectric. And if it was me, and I'm not doing it because that'll take away from, in my opinion, it changes it from other than being stock. Okay? And if the end owner wants, I'm going to pull the light bulbs out of the trash can. If the end owner wants, I'll even send them the original light bulbs. Even though I'm pretty sure after testing it with a multimeter that a couple of them are burnt out. If it's that big of a deal to have everything that has ever been Tec in this thing, I'll send the light bulbs. But if it was me, I'd replace this piece of coax with a piece of RG400, which is Teflon, silver-plated center conductor, dual braid. But I don't want to touch this because it's not needed and it's stock. So now where I was going with the idea about the screws is I'm going to put the tin on this thing so we can run it. Because I don't want to have to physically bypass that little micro switch in the back. There's no way to loop a zip tie around it. I'm just going to put the lid on with the most minimal amount of screws, probably a screw here and a screw here, and maybe one down the side and another one over here and then one in the back corner. And then I'm going to set this amp aside because the tubes come in their own separate box. When I pick this thing up, of course I got it from a Hamfest, so I didn't need to worry about pulling the tubes out because I was very careful with it. Like, I seriously wrapped it inside of like 5 blankets and then put it in the back of my truck personally, and then put a ratchet strap over it and held it down and drove very carefully home with all of my little finds. I'm going to have to take this shipping on. So when it does come, when it leaves here, it's going to go inside of a, cardboard box inside of an air bladder with expanded foam, pardon me. My new shipping company that I've been working with, they are now crating everything. So this will go inside of a cardboard box. It's going to have custom foam, like expansion foam packs that go all the way around this thing, and then inside of cardboard, and then inside of a wood crate. And it's cheaper than UPS and FedEx. That's the only way we've been able to discover to be able to get these things across the country without having any damage. We've tried everything that we can possibly conceive of. And these foam expansion packs with air bladders and then a wood crate is our best chance for success we've discovered. I'm going to put one screw in over here. I'm going to do it by hand. They had this Dentron that was there at the same fest that I was at, and I look in through the top, and the guy wanted a right price for it if it was completely stock, but it had a 1500 in it, the Dentron with the 1500 in it. And I look down in there, and the cap for the Dentron looks like it's some folded over copper tubing. And I noticed the parasitic had been, like, it looked like it had been hand built. And I asked the guy, I said, so what's the story with it? And he goes, well, he proceeded to tell me a story. I'm not going to go into detail on it, but I asked him, so does it have the original tube in it? And he goes, I couldn't tell you. And I said, well, it's real simple. We can pop it open and look at it, but the writing on it's going to be red. And if it doesn't have any writing on it, it's going to be Chinese. And he goes, well, I think it might be Chinese. And I went, See, so much had been changed in that box with the storyline that I couldn't. So what I'm getting at is we found this unicorn horn sitting there, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do hardly anything to this. And that's the reason I'm not even slapping a sticker on this thing, because normally I put a sticker on, oh, BBI was here. I will send the sticker with the amp. And if you, the end user, want to put your sticker on your amplifier, that's your call, but I'm not going to even go that route. Because, I mean, there is not a single scratch. There's a little tiny scuff mark on the lid here. But, I mean, this thing is pristine. So we got the lid on it. Let me go and hook it up. I've got to get another radio out and get it hooked up as well. We're going to run it through all its modes. And we're going to go down that little path here. So give me just a minute. Let me get set up for that. Well, we're going to come off the tripod. So first we're going to use our ICOM 7300. Okay, this is a 50 watt 2 through 30 megahertz. So we're right on the outside of what this thing can actually read. 2 through 30 megahertz slug, 50 watt slug sitting between the ICOM and the Centurion. I have a 1000 watt slug in average, 2 through 30 megahertz, and a 1000 watt slug in peak. But we're primarily going to use this in 2X. Okay. 2 through 30 megahertz going to the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load. So here's our settings on the Centurion. But the reason I wanted to get in there so close is I want to validate to you guys, these are the elements that I'm using. Okay, we're on 220 volts for the Centurion. The radio is on 14 volts. So no magic taking place there. This represents our input tune. These two represent our output tune. Now, the only 5 watt slugs that you can actually purchase from Coaxial Dynamics, I should have them make me a custom one. It's really hard to get them to clamp that low, from what I understand. It's a 25 through 60 megahertz, so the data that we get from that is irrelevant anyhow. We're going to be able to check it with the reflect on the actual Tec itself. Yeah, it's going into a dummy load. It's Terminus. So let me get this back on the tripod. I'll quit moving around and making you guys sick, and let's figure this out. All right, so we're going to start here. We're on lower sideband. Now we're into a completely sealed grounded system, you guys. So it doesn't really matter what frequency I'm on, but we're right in the middle of the 160 meter band at 1.825. We're on lower sideband. And let's zip over here. And let's zoom in over here real quick. So we can actually see the bird slugs. And let me show you what we're putting into this for drive. Hello. Literally nothing. Remember, one's in 2X and one's in average. Hello. Okay. And to make that a little bit more understandable for what I'm putting into it for power, let's take a look at our 50 watt element here. And what we're going to do is we'll spin the slug around so it's reading forward. Hello. About 60 watts or so is all this thing's producing on 100, and that's average power, so we're looking at about 120 watts peak power, okay, on 160 meters. So now we've got that shown up as reflect, so this will show us if we have any input tune issues, which we're not going to have. So let's go back over here and let's look at the Tec. We're sitting directly between the 5 and the 6, and over here on 8. And the reason that's important is because the hardest you'll ever be on the amplifier is trying to find out where it's going to tune. So if you, the purchaser of this thing, decide that you want to have this, you're going to be able to go back and very quickly reference this video and go, okay, I know 160 is going to be somewhere between, on the load knob, it's going to be 5.5, and it's going to be 8. You can dial those up on the knobs really quick without having to go search for it and hunt for it. You're going to find that it's going to roughly tune in about those two spots. So, hello, let's make some power. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Remember, there is a peak meter that's on this, the front end of the Centurion. How do I can get set up so I can keep doing this and I don't have to... Okay, here's our peak meter. So, yeah, I've just stepped on the pedal. That's our 0 signal we see coming up on the meter. Hello, hello. 1,000 watts is being displayed over here. Our average meter is showing us hello, about 900, but our peak meter is showing us hello, about 1,400 and some change on 160 meters. If they can't hear you on 1,400 watts with on 160 meters, they need to go get their radios checked. Man, 1,600 watts on 160 meters. Man. All right, well, let me go re-zero this thing for 80 meters and we'll move forward. Okay, now we're on 80 meters. And let's slide over here to Centurion. Hello, Mr. Centurion. We are now fully on 6, and we're at 4.5 for 80 meters. Let's go back over here to our meters. Let's tighten ourselves up a little bit. I am going to upload this in 4K, so it'll be pretty easy for you guys to see, I think. I hope, I pray. I'll show you what I'm putting into it for drive. Hello, 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 hello. About 100 watts. Hello. Hello. 900 watts in average. Hello. And our 1,400 watts in peak power again. And our input tune is hello, 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 hello. Full 1.5 watts. Please note, I did change this in the last couple videos. Last couple videos I've had this meter set up as SF. I've actually got it shifted over now to power SWR. Hello, 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 hello. Less than a 1.5 is what it's showing us here. It's also represented here, and that's what we're getting for output power. Okay, next stop, 40 meters. Let's go there. All right, we're in 40 meters. Let's roll on over here. Hello. Come on, vape smoke. Come on, knock it out. A little bit of steam in the screen there. All right. Hello. About 100 watts once again. Hello. 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 Look at our input tune. Hello. We're getting our 900 watts again in average right here, and we're getting our about 1,400 in peak. Now let's run over here and go look at the Tec. So we're just between the 7 and the 7.5 mark, and we're on 3. Hello, 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 hello. Our plate voltage. Hello, 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 hello. Our forward power. Hello, 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 hello. And our reflected power back from the dummy load. Hello, 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 hello. Works. All modes, all bands. Okay, next up, 20 meters. Magic band. Geez, I'd say this thing's working. Look at this. It's a 600 watt carrier on AM going in reverse. Zero reflect, 600 watt carrier. That's 600 watts displayed on the 2X meter. Yeah, just a hair over half a kilowatt here. 600 watts here. Interesting. Okay. Let's go to sideband. Hello. Let's tune this out. Hello. 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 Audio. Hello. 1400, 900 watts, 0. And the meters are all happy over here. Hello, 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 hello. Just think, guys, we only got 2 more bands to go. Here comes 15. I will admit, I think it's really cool, the selector in this thing. It's mechanical driven on the output side, and it's electrically driven on the input tuner side. This is the first one I've run into where there's just 2 band switches. This is an electric band switch on the input side. I love that. And this is in the early 90s they were doing this. I read some interesting threads about Tec today. Doing some research as I started out my day, and wow. Anyhow, moving on. Sorry, I totally forgot. Before I run away from 20 meters, our knob settings are, once again, 4.5 and 1. It's 4.5 and 1. All right, moving on to 15, which I'm sure would probably work for 17. And now let's see, what is there around 15 meters? You might be able to get away with running 12 on it and 17. Probably could. I'm not going to try it. Let's go run over to 15 megahertz real quick. I said 15 megahertz, didn't I? I mean 15 meters. 15 megahertz is obviously 21 megahertz. Sorry. Okay, so once again, standard about 100 watts worth of drive. And let's see what we get out of this beautiful thing. Hello. 1400 watts again. Input tune is hello. On the basement, in the floor, absolutely nothing. It's great. Hello. 1. Hello. All right, so the universally most hated band of them all. I don't know why so many crazy people come from there. Let's go on out to 28 megahertz. Now, before I change anything on these knobs, 15 megahertz, by the way, was 4.5 once again, and guess what? 1. Dead on 1. Very little movement on the tuners. All right, well, that was 15, so let's move over to 10. I'm pretty sure we're not going to be too awful far away from where we're at right now. Well, here we are on 28 megahertz. And let's run it through its paces. So, show us drive power. Hello. Barely 100 watts. Hello. All right. Believe it or not, for some reason its happy tune point once again is about 3.5, 3.8, and 1. Which, personally, I think is kind of weird, but I'm not messing with the guts of this box. Just not doing it. Okay, so, hello. Right at 1,000 watts on the peak meter. Hello. About 800-900 on the average. Our input tune is hello. Pristine. So we run it through all its modes, all its bands, all its paces. Now I want to drive it a little bit. I really do. I think that's what I'm going to do next. Give me a minute and I shall return. Okay, we're going to start driving it up. Now we're going to put 125 watts of power into it and see what we get out of it. Once again on 4 and about 1.5. In the 10 meter position. There's 1900 watts. It's interesting. That meter is displaying about 1900 watts. This meter down here, showing us 500. Of course, then again, we're not on 10 meters, if you know what I'm saying. And showing us about 900 watts on that meter. But our peak meter is showing us 1800 watts. Okay, let's go to our third radio. I was sitting here getting to put this thing away, and I realized that I got off on a little bit of a tangent earlier in this video, and I forgot to finish my train of thought. It happens, I'm getting older. The reason I don't want to put all the screws in the cabinet is because I'm going to have to go back in here before the shipping and remove the tubes, because the tubes are going to come in their own separate packaging. And then I'll put all the screws back in it to ship it. That way we're not having to put the screws in, take the screws out, put the screws in, take the screws out, put the screws back in. We're only going to do it one time. And I want to be really clear about that. The tubes will come in their own separate packages, separate boxes, i.e. in their own separate container. And amp will come in a crate. So I want to clarify that. I don't know if I touched on that clearly enough for everybody. I think it might have been a little bit confusing because I think I jumped subjects a couple times, but just want to throw that in there for clarification. Okay, guys, let's get on with the video. Okay, final test, you guys. We're on 1x and peak on this scale. About 220 watts of drive is all we're going to put into it. That's not going to put a single drop more into it. Might end up damaging something because the amps itself's not designed to take this much drive, but disappears into the corner. Okay, so now we're going to go up to 2x, and all I'm demonstrating here is what the viability of the tubes are. Okay, not suggesting that you run this beautiful piece of artwork like this. Pin in the corner again, so we know that means at least 2200 watts with 200 watts of drive. And I know if an SP220 can handle it, a Tec CENTURION sure can. Okay, now we're in 5x. So we're reading that middle scale, adding a couple zeros, right? 2400 watts. It tells me that tubes are still at 100% output. My work here is completed. Alright, zoom on out. Like I said, I purchased this just to sell this to you guys. I thought there's somebody out there that's going to want themselves this beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment. All brand new lights. It's the only thing I did, and I'm not claiming I did anything else. That would be a lie. I'm pretty comfortable at about 3,000, to be honest with you. I see them traded for around that number pretty often, and since I think it's got the original tubes in it, everything's still at 100% output, and there's 0 dents and dings. Pretty comfortable. 3,000 plus the ride. We price quoted the ride. I think all the way to Florida is just, I think, an additional like $175. So you'll be looking at like $31.75, depending on where you are in the country. $3,000 is what I'm going to ask for this. The Tec CENTURION 2-tube 3500Zs. That's where we're at. So guys, you all know the drill. We're going to call this number. Now, I've cleaned out my voicemail box, and it's the middle of the night. And I know that I got quite a few people that are waiting for this amp to come up for sale. Call me ASAP, and if I don't answer, just leave me a message, and whoever calls me first on when I get up in the morning, I will return calls, any order to which they're received. Honest to God. So, if I miss your call by some chance, shoot me a text, and I will get right back to you when I get up. Because it is 2:15 in the morning, I gotta edit this video together, and it probably won't be on YouTube till about 4. So, on that note, gentlemen, give me a call. Bump bump from the biggest mud duck in Idaho.